You brought up nostalgia earlier, and I had in my notes from some time ago, notes just trying to explore the idea of like nostalgia as a trauma response. I even think about it at I'm not like thinking about like an individual that's like gone to this extreme level, because we've seen that, we know those they get, media covers them, media publications cover them or do stories on them. It's like, oh, look, this person has collected every fucking Simpsons merchandise piece or whatever. Not to say that all those people are fucked up, but probably.
The people who just live amongst Simpsons collectibles and that's all they do.
Yeah. The big one I remember is a woman who was obsessed with the Ninja Turtles franchise. And that was one where I felt like, oh, there's some trauma here. Like she was collecting the animatronic puppets, collecting all of whatever, and it's like all she thought about, all she talked about, all she whatever. But I'm not talking about that. I'm thinking about at a collective level. I'm thinking about how you'll be on TikTok and there's like a whole type of TikTok where they're playing the same track and it's like, remember when we were kids and times were simple, and it's like showing pictures of like landscapes from our elementary schools and like toys and whatever. And it's like thousands of people just like cycling through it'll that be Gen over Z, and over.
Remember 2017? I hate that shit so much.
Remember 9/11? Times were so good.
Remember the 20th anniversary of 9/11?
But it's like, okay, it's like depressing, obviously. And it makes me think about like the importance of like trying to cultivate actually new art experiences, traditions, subcultures, like we can't like be stuck grabbing on to whatever we can from the fucking past and just sitting in it.
I mean, bro, it's really interesting because it's kind of a two-pronged dynamic where it almost feels like it's a reaction to the fact that nothing, at least you can perceive that nothing new is being made anymore, because the way Hollywood works is like they just are looking for what's reliable and what's worked in the past. And so everything, like having pitched TV shows before, the advice you get is like, you got to make sure there are comps for how they can sell it. So it's like this meets this, or it's this meets this. And it's like, it's kind of,
now it's like eating itself.
It's eating itself to the point where like, it's interesting that it almost reflects the way that like when a mass of people, like when the global population has its hands on something versus when like this top-down centralized unit has its hands on something, even if it's the same concept, it can be so different in how it's in its application, because like it feels like people are reaching backward in response to another entity reaching backward and trying to put the same shit in your face.
Yeah. Well, that's a part of it. I'm really thinking about it at the broadest level. I'm thinking beyond. Media is a huge part of it, but I'm literally just thinking about like, that's why I said as a trauma response. It's probably not the best way to describe it, but it's like that same dynamic in media, but just all across the board. It's like, and it's just, I'm thinking about it in relation to the imagination conversation that we're always having. It's like I also think it's a collective trauma response, in the sense that for a lot of us, our childhoods were like very authoritarian, like in the school, in the household, whatever. And these things that we're nostalgic over were basically our escapes in those times, in our developmental years, right? So it's deep at that level and layer too. So my thinking just goes to like, for the next generation of children and like for ourselves, what are we actually like generating and cultivating, and thinking like about what you said in terms of media, but just in society as a whole. And and I'm gonna zoom out even more. It's like, I was thinking this year, like, damn, like Christmas is like, there's so much like, in my humble opinion, cool shit that comes with Christmas, but a lot of the stuff that we associate with Christmas is shit that was people came up with in the last 100 years or some shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you really think we're supposed to hold on to something like the traditions of like Christmas in the Western world in this static like place and just carry it on until the end of time? Or, and like maybe holidays aren't the best thing to zero in on, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, how can we have like a broader, it's also tied to this world building piece. It's like, what are holidays, you know, in a society that, you know, values the things that we value, and like, what are the, you know, how do we celebrate? What are the rituals? Maybe a part of it is coming from the past and past traditions, but that's also a thing that's carried on. It's like when we think of Christmas and Christmas traditions, that's also made up of traditions from all around the world and Europe, like converging, and then new media. So it's like, but I'm saying this to say, I'm saying all of this because I feel like between like social media and the global corporatization and centralization of everything, we're literally like at a wall right now, like culturally, like creative, at least in the sense of like being able to collaborate or get new expressions or ideas out to more people, and building like just like cultural consensus and trust, and there being a sense of like, oh, we have a shared idea and path, and like that informs the schools that our kids are in, the food that we're eating, the holidays we're celebrating, the time we're spending with each other. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's just so much to talk about.
I know.
With this.
There's so many layers to it.
Like the one thing I wanted to say about I want to say something about the trauma side and something about the making new shit side.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, a director named Ian, I worked with him on this thing in Dallas, and it was like, he is the sweetest guy, he's the nicest guy, he's very fun, funny, and he's very peppy and like up, and he's kind of like juvenile. He has like kind of a juvenile sense of humor, but like in a way that's not annoying or grating. It's like just nice, and it's partially, and he's very open about this. Like his dad was shitty and abusive, and so trauma locked him in at that age. Like, like I remember him posting something about someone posting, like he posted something that was talking about that, and he was like, "This, I relate to this," and I think that's really true. I think it can lock you into a certain age, but in so that on the trauma piece, I think is really interesting to think about culturally also. But on the making new shit side, like I've always had this propulsion, this ambition towards like new shit, doing new shit, upping my life and getting to new places and exploring and just I've never been like the life peaked in high school guy. I'm always like the better days the better days have yet to come. I've always felt that way. So like, and that's been like, even when I went to college, people like, so like I feel like the 2000s happened, and then you watch them kind of end, and then the dust settles, the tempo slows, and then it's like, all right, we're all just here now. We have social media, and then you see this big nostalgia wave, this N64 vaporwave thing,
VHS effect,
start coming in the early 2010s, and then you go to college, and it's like everyone remembers the same Nickelodeon shows and the N64 shit and the Pokemon. Everyone's into this nostalgia, and then it's like we don't even have to talk about the massive market that creates, the cottage industry that creates just off that alone. I mean, half your Instagram ads are just that, but it's like, it's so interesting.
Literally bought a fucking
I mean, and hey, some of it is, this is just postmodern culture, is just the ability to have a curated society of history. But at the other end, to your wall point, I mean, it really does feel, I took a class, and it was a film history class or a media history class, and this lady, the professor, like basically was talking about, I don't think it was her personal ideas, but her curriculum, there was a through line about how we're in a post-cultural society where culture literally has reached an end. And I remember some people in the class being like, that's bullshit, that can't happen. And it's like, no, it can, if there's no history. If there's actually no progression of culture from a historical standpoint, culture does end.
Where we're tracking, where we can track it. You know? And not just in the sense that the track is out in the fucking noise, But like I said, I use the expression cultural consensus. You know, it's like when people think of the hip hop tradition and history that you carry forward. There's a story, there's a history, or whatever. But we're in the digital age sea of information where it's just. It's like the fucking Bo Burnham clip where he's like, every fucking kid, their brain is developing and they have the choice to look into infinity or oblivion, you know?
Yeah, and do something that offers absolutely nothing.
Right.
And that's why you have to create your own worlds. That's why you have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to do it for you. The world's not going to be a world. The world's not a world.
Yeah.
So you have to create your own. You have to create your own culture.
Especially when it's beholden to fucking capital.
That's literally what I was about to say.
It's literally capital.
Yeah.
It's like as long as there's money to be made off this shit, there's not going to be anything that grows out of it.
No, it has to exist for its own sake. It has to exist.
I've been saying like this whole Marvel MCU shit, that's our mythology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is literally the equivalent of, and a lot of it is built off of Roman Greek mythology. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and if that's the equivalent that we have, and it's tied up in capital, it's tied up in fucking actors' contracts and all this shit.
Yeah, I'm playing Zeus in the new Marvel movie.
Can you imagine if like?
Can I say something on this? Go. You can.
I was just gonna say, can you imagine if like you look back at Roman mythology and you're just like, well, you know that Zeus is about to he's gonna transform into a goose because his contract at this point in history.
They ran out of movies to do with Zeus.
Yeah.
But like, think about what I said about Christmas. And by the way, all the Christmas haters out there, I empathize with you. I don't fuck with organized religion. I just wanted to I love the aesthetics and the music. I joke, I say white people snap when they made Christmas. But
white people snapped when
they made Christmas.
They did. Yeah. And boy, we love Christmas. Like it's the one time we get something. Right. You know? We really get to obsess over something.
Yeah. No notes. No notes, bro. No notes. But like, what's up with Black Peter though? What's up with that dude?
But
what?
That's some
that's
deep
fucking,
Europe shit. Yeah, that's some
just like that Dutch
blackface. Blackface holiday.
Yeah.
Nah, but I'm bringing that up on
I got
the
an
point.
answer for that.
Yeah, right.
What's up with Black Peter?
I'm bringing that up on the point of like imagination and where that connects with like institutional legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like what gives new stories legitimacy? What gives new ideas legitimacy? Like just like Marvel or DC or whatever, these legacy institutions, fuck it, Warner Brothers, you know, name all the big companies and institutions. Like what is it that makes it like where we can't move on from these things and start anew for something that, we're going to obviously be dealing with capital and money, but where it is in service to the human and the culture and the social and, you know, whatever it might be.
Well, now what you're seeing is the actual culture, like the closest thing to actual culture is like seeing a sped up video of a Breaking Bad clip and there's like a meme text over it. Like we're just taking things that exist now and we're creating worlds with the scraps, like the Ryan Gosling meme, like the
Fallout,
memes. The memes are these worlds. Like Breaking Bad and Family Guy, the context of those two things now are under so many layers of irony.
Bro, have you seen the Garfield online universe? We've talked about it. Have we talked about it on the show?
No, I don't know. Garf.
I don't think so.
The Garfers?
Yeah, bro. There's a
Can I put a pin, or rather just finish?
Are you thinking of like the Elden Ring shit? Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
You know, I just wanted to reiterate, like, I only say that, like what I just said, to just remind people that this shit is new. Like in the scope of human history, this shit, all these legacy institutions and big companies and that produce the classics and whatever, it's fucking new.
Yeah, it's still very new.
Right.
And there's no reason why we can't like be bold enough to go, well, let's start something new, but different foundation, different values. And here's the cultural traditions. Here's the, you know, whatever it might be. And like thinking really in a holistic way beyond media and art, you know? Yeah. And I feel like we're literally in the practice with 400 million, like we're in the beginning stages of trying to like lay the foundation for what that could be.
Yeah.
And you know what I think is tied into that too is like this. I at least feel this. Sometimes I feel like our generation's like not smart or talented enough to produce shit that's as fire as the last generations. But you know, that's not true.
It's not true.
Here's what's
that's
true.
not true.
The geniuses are just not available.
Yeah, they're not available.
So
They're not
that's the
available.
problem.
It's like David Graeber's point.
Yeah, get them in front. Get them
access.
the
Get them
resources.
connected even.
Yeah.
I have 2 points, and I'll use this to tie it back into the Garfield thing. So, to your point about what gives media legitimacy or what gives stories legitimacy, is right now it's fucking capital. And it used to be, I mean, there's still a degree of the same thing, but it's like it used to be just like that it had existed before. And that's still true to a degree. It's like the difference between Christianity and a cult is like thousands of years or a couple thousand years. So when you mix capital with that dynamic that already exists, it's like the best we can do is draw from some shit that's like fan fiction. We've talked about how people that make fan fiction are some of the best storytellers that exist right now. People that make that mod video games are some of the best
made Dominican
designers.
GTA.
Yeah, they literally made the
Amazing.
Dominican Republic in GTA.
Yeah.
And to the point about the Garfield universe, it sounds like a joke, but it's like there's this entire online universe, and we did talk about it. I showed you that like long like film where the end of it is just this crazy like sequence. We can link it or whatever.
Oh, I think I vaguely remember this. Yeah,
but like there's this online universe of just like a dark Garfield. They did the same thing with The Simpsons too, but Garfield is so much more specific. It's like John, who's the guy who lives in the house, who's based on the creator, by the way. It's this dark, just like spiral of like he's trapped in this universe that he created himself. And Garfield is this like
Garfield without Garfield, that whole thing.
There's that, and then there's also Gorefield, which is the like horrific like nightmare Garfield who's just like peeking around corners looking for John.
Ring
like
boss.
He's like, John, I require lasagna.
And it was like spider legs.
Like my point being that like, and this evolves to the point where there's sort of like ups and downs with John's relationship with Garfield, to the point where now years after the fact there's this like I will politely request that you pull this up, but there's a painting called The Forgiveness of John, which is literally a Renaissance painting.
Oh shit.
Like the level of detail is literally like it's a Renaissance painting showing John Arbuckle finally killing Garfield.
Wow.
Like on I want to say on a pile of bones, but I don't think that's accurate. But
damn.
Yeah.
Can I speak on that? I think it's directly related in terms of the legitimacy point, because I think about it at least two levels. The material, which you spoke to when you said capital, but also literally just the cultural, the socio-cultural. And I think a part of what we're like on here always yapping about and pleading for people to do is to get the cultural together in a way that's dealing with the material in a different way. So in other words, there are people who are into dope shit and who are making dope things out in this world, but we're not organized, to use an overused and vague word. We're not like connected and moving with each other. Actually, a lot of the folks are just on the hamster wheel trying to ride up the hierarchy, ride up the pyramid, competing with each other. And my question is like, what happens when those people can come together? There is consensus around what's cool, what's dope, and there's media covering that. There's writings covering that. There's a shared cultural, subcultural understanding around that. But then there's infrastructure and organization that deals with capital that can put more people in a place to express themselves, centering the cultural and the social.
Right.
You know, it's like we know that money is like running and shaping and determining everything, but we also know that in the cracks and crevices, and even just amongst the people in general, there's like a desire for new shit, a wave of new shit that is hitting at the same caliber as the classics that we love from the 20th century, early 21st century, whatever. But it's new stories, it's a new take, it's whatever. It's just that shit there needs to be an infrastructural means for it to poke through and reach people. But just saying all of this on the legitimacy point, because when you can create, when all of this can come together, can collate, that's when I think we've built another world where there's potentially millions of people who have a shared understanding of cultural legacy and history, and a sense of where they want things to continue moving and going.